Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Grave.
And I'm Death.
And we're going to answer your spooky questions today.
Oh my goodness.
Because this is our Halloween episode.
Yep.
As of the time this episode goes out, Halloween will be in like 2 days.
Sure.
And Halloween is one of my favorite times of the year. So if this is your first Halloween joining us,
right,
you should know that I love Halloween and I love doing Halloween related stuff.
Right.
So Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing spooky. I'm doing fine.
Cool.
How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. I've for this entire month I've been doing every day I've been watching a different horror movie.
Yep.
And I've been trying to focus on horror movies that I have not seen before.
Right.
So I've seen, I think we talked about this last episode. One of the last couple episodes, I probably cut out a whole big long thing about found footage. But
right, yeah.
I've watched a lot of movies I've never seen, a lot of good ones, a lot of bad ones.
A lot of not so good ones.
Yeah. But I'm having a lot of fun. I love doing it, and I love Halloween. You got any cool plans for Halloween?
Well, we had a party over the weekend. Well, we didn't have a party. We went to a party over the weekend. That was fine. It's well, Skylar and I, like, I don't know, we really didn't have any costume ideas for a while, and we're like, we need to figure out something that's just comfortable and easy.
Sure.
And we watched this YouTube show. Mm-hmm. It's a YouTube channel for the Bon Appetit magazine.
Okay.
They have like a test kitchen, and then they do like a little YouTube channel thing where they have like their chefs go in their test kitchen and try out recipes and stuff like that.
Sure.
And so like there's a couple on there, and like they're fairly entertaining. Like they're a charming bunch of people, and like some of the shows on there, like one of them is Gourmet Makes, where it's a pastry chef will go and make gourmet versions of like candies and snacks and stuff like.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
So she'll like make or like try to recreate Oreos and try to like or like Starburst or something was one where she had struggles with because it was just like the consistency of the taffy and all that.
Sure.
Anyway, we like the show. We think and like there's a couple of the chefs on there that we find pretty charming, and so like we just put on our aprons and a couple props and we're like, I'm Brad Leone and she was Claire Saffitz from the BA Test Kitchen or whatever, and that's pretty cool. People recognized who we were, and we were like, that's good enough. We at the very least we don't look crazy, we just look weird.
Yeah. So I haven't really put a lot of time into coming up with a Halloween costume. I always wait until the last minute. Mm-hmm. And I had an idea for like an easy thing, like a fallback position if I couldn't think of anything better.
Sure, yeah.
And I was going to tell Lisa about it last night, and I was like, hey, so Lisa, I think I came up with what I want to do for Halloween. And then out of nowhere, she says, you're not going to be 3-hole punch Gabe, are you? And yes.
Oh.
So 3-hole punch Jim was from The Office.
Right.
Jim shows up to work in his normal outfit, but with like 3 black circles on his chest. So
right.
Like he's like been 3-hole punched.
So you're going to be 3-hole punch Gabe.
If I can't come up with anything better, yes. I'm just going to wear a Gabe shirt and put 3 black circles on my shirt.
Oh, she saw right through that costume.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yes.
Good job.
Sweet pun, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff.
Just one more thing about food.
Right.
What? Because you were talking about the Bon Appetit thing or whatever.
Sure. Okay.
I want to make, because I have Halloween off from work. I put in a request for Halloween off like months ago.
Right.
And I really want to make some food that day, and we'll make some sort of spooky something or other. One thing I definitely do want to make, I found a recipe for, it's Rice Krispie treats, except it is red velvet Rice Krispie treats.
There was some of that at the party.
It looks like raw hamburger.
Right. They had it in. They had gotten like the little styrofoam.
I don't even know where you would get those.
I would assume they just got meat and then washed it really well.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know for sure, but yeah, they had the little styrofoam like little trays and saran wrap, and like they even had like a label.
Oh, that's so good.
So like it was, but yeah, it was red velvet mix or something, and Rice Krispie treats, and it just looks like, it just looks like raw beef.
Yeah, and just imagine if you walked in the room and there was somebody just sitting there mowing down on some raw hamburger.
Confit.
Yeah. So yeah, that I think that'll be fun. Anyway, you want to go ahead and get into this episode? I think we have some really fun stuff for today.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. I want you to imagine, Jeff, that it is, it's getting late in it's getting into the autumn season, and you go out with some friends to a local attraction that is a corn maze.
Ooh, okay.
It's supposed to be spooky. You might get lost, and you go into the corn maze, try to make it to the other side, and whatever. So you go out there, you're with some friends, and you get turned around.
Oh no!
Give me a survival check.
That's a solid 10.
Okay. Well, that's not good enough. You get turned around.
Didn't think so.
You think that you know where you're going, but you realize you just passed by that sign or something. I don't know, some landmark. You passed by that a few minutes ago, and then you pass by it again. And then you can't even find that sign anymore. You don't know where you are.
Oh, no.
You can't. It's getting late. You can't hear anybody else. Maybe everybody left you. You're not sure. But you're wondering about this. You're trying to look up to see if you can see anything noteworthy. And because you're not looking down, you trip and fall into a hole. The ground just opens up underneath you. You fall. Next thing you know, you're lying at the bottom of this pit or something, but you can see off in the distance there's a light source. So you get up. You're miraculously not hideously wounded.
Right, it was a TV fall.
Yes, exactly. You landed on some leaves or something.
Yeah.
And you landed in a cart full of hay. That's what it is. And you come ahead and you come into this gigantic room, and you see that there is a giant pile of gold and rubies.
Sweet.
And there are torches sending flickering lights everywhere. But then you notice the skulls.
Oh, no.
And then you feel the wind start to pick up around you, and you see a gigantic skeleton with wings, with scraps of leather hanging from them. And the skeletal wings are beating, and you recognize it immediately as a Dracolich. And you realize where you just wound up, Jeff.
Where am I?
The Dracolich's horde.
Oh, no.
Or the dragon's horde. It's up to you.
Choose your own adventure.
Yes. Today's magic item was submitted by the DM's Council via email. And the item in question is called the Tricking Staff of Treats.
Ooh. Sounds tasty.
Yes, it does. This is a legendary, wondrous item. This mischievous staff can provide spectacular treats as well as diabolical tricks. It seems to be made from the twisted branch of a dark ash tree with deep ridges in the bark, looking like a despised holiday licorice treat. On top of the staff is an ominous visage of a carved pumpkin sporting a toothy grin. The player can spend one of its 5 charges to roll on the D100 chart and follow the results. The staff regains all charges after 24 hours. If the same number is rolled and the effect is currently active or ongoing, the charge is wasted. So you can't get the same thing twice.
Sure. Okay.
While it's going on. At the end of the fall festival season, any ongoing potential effects that are not used end, and the staff goes dormant until the next year. So it is only active during that time.
Sure.
There's also a note here. You may, as DM, withhold some of the double asterisk information from the players if desired. So some of these effects have a double asterisk effect that you might want to keep secret.
Sure.
And also, so basically what this item is it's one of those D100 things with a whole bunch of holiday related effects.
Yeah, we did one for Christmas.
For Christmas, yeah, exactly. In fact, when we got this one, I was like, did we already do this one? But no, it's we did.
We did like a winter. It was like the Winter Wonderland staff or something like that.
I even want to say we've done one that was not holiday themed. It was just like rod of some effects or something. I don't know. But then, so one additional thing though is that some of these give a specific condition.
Okay.
Like they have some of the effects have a special condition that is unique to this item, and that condition is called Sweet Shock.
Ooh.
This common condition, relegated to mostly children, gives a quick burst of energy where the senses are heightened for a brief time. What follows next is an equally long recovery period. During this time, the afflicted target gains 1d2 rounds under the following effects. So while you're under the effects of Sweet Shock, your speed is doubled. You have advantage on dexterity saves. Each round, you take 1d4 psychic damage because of the Sugar Rush. If the target is currently concentrating on a spell, each round you must make a DC 14 spellcasting modifier save to maintain it. When the effect ends, the target can't move or take actions until after its next turn, as a wave of lethargy sweeps over it. If this is the third time the target has been afflicted in a 4-hour period, then the target does not gain the effects of drinking a health potion or a long rest for the next 24 hours. And these afflictions do not stack with the currently sweet-shocked targets. If the target is already under the condition, then it must wear off to be affected again.
So you can get like a sugar hangover.
Pretty much, yeah. So we're not going to read all of these because there are 100, and some of them are kind of long.
Right.
But, it's a whole bunch of various, spooky effects, and some of them are pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, like there's a couple I want to point out, but for right now, let's just try rolling it out and see what we get.
Sure.
All right. Number 32. See, number 32 is Toe of Frog. For the next 24 hours, you gain the effects of the jump spell, and you also get a frog-like tongue attack. 10-foot reach with 1d6 plus 2 attack.
1d6 plus 2 damage, I guess.
Plus 2 damage, I guess I guess you could fit that to your strength or something. Well, I don't know. It's an unusual thing.
Yeah.
Any tiny creature hit by this can be restrained or swallowed. So you can eat tiny creatures with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
All right, and I just got a 19, Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Oh, no.
For the next 24 hours, every undead you encounter has double the HP. Their AC, attack bonus, and damage all increase by 2.
Oh, dang.
That's awful.
Maybe I'm trying to think. Well, I guess it might be a good thing if you upped like the CR of it or something like that to get more experience from it.
Yeah, so the harder challenge, but also also better benefits. Maybe
I got up to the DM, obviously.
Sure. Just imagine if you had the bag of beans and you were encountering a mummy lord.
Mummy lord that had double the HP.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. No, I don't want to imagine that, Gabe. All right, let's try another roll. 94.
All right.
All the way down there. Candy Coliseum. All creatures' attacks, melee range, damaging spell within 60 feet of the staff inflict the Sweet Shock condition for 1 minute. All right.
There you go.
So there's that Sweet Shock. So now all creatures within 60 feet of the staff just have that attached to all of their damaging abilities.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, like you can get that sugar hangover real quick.
Right. Whether you want it or not.
Right.
All right. And I got 94.
That's
the same one. Well, can't have it. I thought I was like, whoops, my dice tower is rebelling today.
That was so 35?
Sure.
Which is the last one we did. No.
Duty Bound Dead.
You said duty. But go on.
Thank you, Jeff. Duty Bound Dead. You cast the Revivify spell within a range of 60 feet, and the target recovers their max hit point total if they fell in service to a king, lord, or other authority figure. The effect of this spell can be saved unused for 24 hours until at an appropriate time.
What? Wait.
Which is interesting. Basically, you gain the ability to cast Super Revivify on someone.
Yeah.
But you don't have to use it immediately because that's only useful if someone has just died.
The target recovers the max hit point total if they fell in service. Oh, I see.
So if they are defending a king or a ruler of some sort.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you can use Revivify, but if they happen to be falling in the service, they're also brought immediately to full hit points. Okay.
Yeah, and you don't have to use it immediately because you can't really predict that's going to happen.
Right,
but you could save it up in case.
Okay, so yeah, 60-foot. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Were there any specific ones you wanted to talk about?
All right, so one that I liked was number 38, Pop-Up Pumpkin Patch, a little tongue twister. A fully tilled pumpkin patch measuring 30 feet by 30 feet appears with 1d12 plus 3 pumpkins. So I just always liked pumpkins as a kid.
Yeah, pumpkins are great.
Even on the off season, I just liked pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
These can be used as half cover, so they're fairly large pumpkins.
Okay.
Yeah. or they can be thrown as a ranged weapon. Each pumpkin takes an action to pick up and toss. The range is 30 feet, deals 2d6 plus 2 bludgeoning damage. Target hit with the pumpkin must make a DC 13 strength check or be knocked prone from the impact, because they're pretty big pumpkins.
Those are great pumpkins.
Alternatively, these pumpkins can be harvested and cooked to feed up to 4 creatures per pumpkin. So
that's pretty good.
So they're just pumpkins. You can still eat them and stuff.
Yeah.
But like I like the idea. It's like you summon a pumpkin patch and then you have like a pumpkin patch like throwing fight.
Sure.
Just adds a whole nother thing to the fight.
Yeah. No, I really like that. And one that I liked was number 40, Monster Mash. All humanoid creatures within 1 mile of the staff look like monsters. A DC 13 investigation check can see through the illusion.
Nice.
So
yeah, everybody gets a costume.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of these. We're not gonna, we don't really have time to read all of them, but you can find the link to this on our blog. We have a page for all of the Dragon's Hoard items you can check on there. Mm-hmm. Also on our subreddit, there's a link on there too. So go and check those out. Go and just read some of these. They're so great. I love Halloween themed stuff, and these are all very much like that.
Plenty of these effects and stuff are they're neat by themselves, so you can always just kind of like throw that in somewhere in your adventure or something. Like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to throw the staff in there, but you can. There's tons of ideas here.
Sure. So anyway, so that was the Tricking Staff of Treats submitted by the DM's Council. So thank you much, Mr. Council, I guess. So Jeff, if anybody wanted to submit magic items of their own to be like the DM's Council here, or if they wanted to submit questions for us to discuss or stories for the funeral pyre, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com, or they can join us on our Interparty Discord at bit.ly/interpartydiscord.
That's correct. And before we go any further, we have a spooky giveaway to give away today.
We do have a spooky giveaway.
We do. So as usual, but especially because it's Halloween,
right?
We're giving away a copy of Chapel on the Cliffs, courtesy of Goblinstone, which is a spooky adventure. Involving a chapel and some cliffs.
Yeah, a chapel and some cliffs. There's spooky bing bongs to be had.
Yeah. So a few days ago, I ran our library game. Our game at the library, and I was trying to have it be Halloween themed because it's October,
right?
And I did have the it was a very short session, of course, but I did have the climax be in a chapel on some cliffs, and Steve was playing with us, and he is not super familiar with that adventure, but he heard me reference that there was a chapel and they're up on some cliffs, and he was very curious as to whether I was using content from that. No,
right.
A chapel on some cliffs is a fairly common thing.
Sure.
But
an homage or something.
Yeah,
but not
I actually considered possibly trying to do some of Chapel on the Cliffs for that, but because we only have an hour and it's would be spreading it out over multiple months just to get through one adventure. Yeah. I did not.
Right. I feel like there are definitely ways to streamline it if you want to just kind of go from A, B to C, A to B to C. You can probably streamline it you can find a way.
Okay. Well, anyway, so we're giving away a copy of Chapel on the Cliffs here. And Jeff, who is our winner this week?
Our winner is Stacy.
Winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes.
No last initial.
Yes. Congratulations, Stacy. Like Jeff said, no, just Stacy.
Just Stacy
is the name we got. So Stacy, you should be getting that in your email pretty soon. If you don't, be sure to let us know. Give them maybe a week or so just to be safe, to make sure they can get it to you. And if after that you don't have it, let me know and we'll make sure it gets all in order. Yeah. And if anybody wanted to enter this drawing, Jeff, if they would like to join Stacy in the winner's circle and get a free copy of this great adventure, how would they do so?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. And then in the subject line, you want to put Chapel on the Cliffs.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, that's it. That's
all right. Yes. So congratulations, Stacy. Thank you, Goblinstone, for giving those out to our wonderful listeners. And Stacy, just be sure to leave them a review. Let them know what you think of the adventure, and then they can use that information to help make better future products.
Yep.
And then I do want to thank all of our wonderful patrons. Now, a few days ago, we actually meant to mention this at the beginning of the episode, but I forgot to. A few days ago, we just recorded and released our bonus episode for this month.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I think it was a ton of fun. So we didn't do a normal bonus episode. What we did for this one, I got Jeff here, and then Skylar, and our friend Peter, who helped out with one or more of the arcade streams that we did. And we played through a game of the Terrible RPG, a spooky game of the Terrible RPG. And so we recorded it and put it out as a bonus episode. So if you would like to hear us play through, it's about 2.5 hours. I meant for it to be 1 hour.
Right.
It went very over schedule, as it tends to.
I feel like we tend to metagame too much and try to like... As people who like play tabletop games are always trying to like, think ahead of the DM or something like that.
Sure.
So like I feel like we weren't going along with your shenanigans, so we kind of sidetracked things a little bit.
Nah, it's fine.
But it's still made for a fun fun adventure.
Yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. We recorded character creation for that. I haven't, as of this recording, I haven't put it out yet.
Sure.
But I was kind of planning on putting it on the Patreon, but as something that anybody can see. You wouldn't have to be a patron to listen to it. So I think I will do that. If I haven't done that by the time this episode goes out, I'll cut this part out. But I think I'll try to get it out maybe even tonight. So if you are interested in hearing what a little bit of that session was like, you can go to our Patreon. Even if you're not a patron, you can still listen to. It'll probably be like 30 minutes or so, and most of it is probably just going to be us. It's probably not going to be very cohesive, but there will be at least some explanation of characters and mechanics and so on.
A little introduction of the characters.
So hopefully I can make it enjoyable to listen to. But if you are hearing this, then that means I put it up. So go check that out. Patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. Because I didn't even get to what our Patreon is. Patreon's an online platform that you can pledge to donate a certain amount of money per month to the creator of your choice. If you pledge with us, you can get outtakes every few weeks.
Yep.
I've got fantasy fiction that I wrote. It's all still up there. You can still go and read it. And then I'm now going through and I'm making audio versions of some of them, maybe not all of them. We'll see. And then we've got those bonus episodes. Like I said, we just put out one of those.
Yep.
And we've also got a monthly Roll20 game that I'm hoping to finish. Next time I'm hoping to finish the Lampslight Sanitarium.
Oh, right. Yeah.
In November. So
cool.
So yeah. Come check out our Patreon, patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. You can check out the rewards if you like how they look. You can maybe think about donating to us, help make the show better. And even if you don't want to donate, there will most likely be something about this bonus episode that you can listen to.
Sure.
So go check that out. Thank you to all of our wonderful patrons. You guys are awesome. Then there's one more quick little thing before we get into the topic for this week. Go check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Check out Crit Academy at critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Brandon create new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. Check out Brute Force and Ignorance. They are an actual play podcast. They started a new arc a couple months ago, and they just did, I think, a one-shot for Halloween.
Oh, cool.
I haven't listened to it yet, so I'm actually not 100% sure it's Halloween themed.
I'll have to check that out.
And then also D&D Character Lab. They're not making any more episodes, but their old episodes are still there. So go check them out. We actually were on an episode of theirs for Halloween last year.
That's right.
Some of that might come in this episode.
Right,
check out all those other podcasts. Let's get on to the meat of the bloody meat of this episode. the slippery meat of this episode.
The Rice Krispie treat with velvet mix of this episode.
I was trying to make it worse. You made it better.
Yeah, it was delicious. So our question for today comes from Stiltskin Kupo 84 on Discord. Mm-hmm. How would you recreate some of the great horror icons in D&D?
Yeah, so in previous years, we've talked about whether it's possible to run a scary game of D&D.
Right.
If you are going to try to run a horror-themed game, what are some considerations and so on and so on. I was actually trying to think of what we should do for Halloween this year because, I think we've done some pretty good Halloween-based content in the past.
Sure.
And I actually had an idea similar to this, but I prefer to keep our episodes question-based.
Right, yeah.
And luckily, Stilton Kubo 84 came through in a pinch with this question because I think this is a great topic, and I had a lot of fun doing this. So basically what we're going to do is we have created various horror icons, some, mostly movie stuff.
Right, yeah.
But created some of those as monsters or PCs in D&D.
Now, in trying to come up with some, I found out that I reminded myself that I don't watch or do much horror anything.
I am shaking my head disapprovingly at Jeff.
I appreciate the art. I like it, actually. Like, I like I'm not huge on gore, and like I get startled easily and stuff like that. So I'm not big on I'm not like huge on like horror stuff, but like I like the aesthetics for the most part. Like I get that there's an art to it, and like I can appreciate like the history of horror films and stuff like that, and like all like the low budget stuff. Like we watched a bunch of the bad horror movie night we used to do.
Oh yeah, because I've always loved horror movies, and my wife and I used to have a bad horror movie night every week.
Yeah, it was like maybe
Did we do it every week? How did I have so much time, Jeff? I was working 2 jobs at the time.
Right, maybe it was.
I think it was every week. I think it was like every Monday or something.
Yeah, might have been. Yeah.
Oh boy. But, anyway.
So like there's very few, iconic ones that I can think of, and even the ones I can, like I had to like try and Wikipedia a bunch of them just to get an understanding, and even then I was like, I don't know, like I can't get a read of like, like what are Jason's powers, because they.
Oh, I can tell you what Jason's powers are.
I know you can. So I have one that I made for the
D&D Character Lab.
For D&D Character Lab.
Yeah.
And I'm actually pretty proud of that one, the way it turned out.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. And that was all you.
so I'll take head on that one, but why don't you go ahead and start on down your list?
Yeah, so I've got a whole bunch of these. Some of them I have. So I haven't really come up with like a stat block for most of these. I started with a base monster, and then I've noted what abilities you add or subtract from it.
Right.
And for I think some of these I've put more work into than others. That may be clear, but I will when necessary. If you would like, Jeff, I can tell you what some of these creatures' abilities are and why I am giving them what they have. We'll see. We'll see where they go. So the very first one I started with was Jason Voorhees.
Okay. So yeah, he's
from
the
Friday,
guy with the hockey mask.
Although a little bit of a lesson here. Jason was not the villain. There were two Friday the 13th movies that Jason was not the villain in, and he didn't actually have the mask until the 3rd movie.
Sure, but it's the iconic visual.
The icon. Yeah. Exactly. And also, I think I mentioned this on an episode. Maybe I didn't. Anyway, also Jason Voorhees. A lot of people think of him as being like immortal or whatever. There was nothing explicitly supernatural about him until the 6th movie. For the first 3 or 4 times he was on there, he was just really hard to get. Like he had an inexplicable knack for people thinking he was dead.
Right. Yeah. That feels
because
like
at the end of every movie, like they think, oh yeah, in one movie he even gets taken to a morgue, and then the next movie he just gets back up. But he is not explicitly. He is still flesh and blood.
Sure.
He still bleeds when you cut him until, spoilers, the 6th movie, where he has been canonically killed. In the 6th movie, he is brought back by lightning. And after that point, he is like, without question, he is a walking corpse.
Okay.
And there are like deliberate changes between how he acted in previous movies and how he acts in movies after that.
Sure.
So there was definitely a change. So anyway, start with a troll. And
okay.
I'll even say for a lot of these are not going to be super high level monsters, because I don't think in horror movies, if you have class levels, you're not a character in a horror movie.
Right. Yeah.
The people who have no clue what they're doing are the ones that are in horror movies, and then they get killed.
A lot of horror movies involve some like unstoppable monster, but it's unstoppable because you're dealing with camp counselors or something.
Exactly.
But then like the National Guard shows up and now it's trivial.
Well, and sorry, some more Friday the 13th spoilers. The 9th movie starts out with the National Guard or a SWAT team basically has lured Jason into a trap and they blow him up with a rocket launcher at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
It's hilarious. Anyway, so start off with a troll.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little hesitant to use a troll because trolls are large sized, but what the heck? In some of the movies, Jason's pretty big.
Right. Yeah. They're always like very imposing.
Yeah. So I would remove his claws and bite. I don't really have claws or a bite. Add in a weapon of your choice. Give him the extra attack ability, however, so he can attack twice. My main thing is I would give him proficiency in all improvised weapons. Although everybody thinks of Jason as using a machete. He only really uses a machete in a couple movies. He uses pretty much whatever is on hand.
Sure, yeah.
I also gave him advantage on grapple attempts.
Okay.
Advantage on, because he grabs people a lot. Advantage on stealth and perception checks because nobody sees him coming. He always knows where people are.
Right.
That's kind of a common thing in horror movies.
Right, yeah.
I gave him weakness to psychic and radiant damage.
Okay.
Now, in the first few movies, I don't really think he has a weakness. Once he is explicitly a walking corpse, I would say he counts as undead. I would give him weakness to radiant damage.
Yeah.
Also, one of the Friday the 13th movies has one of the protagonists is basically Carrie from the movie Carrie.
Okay.
And so she has psychic powers, and the way she ends up beating him is basically like just psychic blasting him. And then, so weakness to psychic and radiant damage. I gave him resistance to lightning and also bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing.
Okay.
And then his regeneration is a little bit different. So it's no longer paused by fire and acid. The way that trolls work, for anybody not familiar with how trolls work in 5th edition specifically, they have regeneration, which means every round they get back 10 hit points.
Okay.
But also, if you reduce them to 0, the next round, they just get back up with 1 hit point, if I'm not mistaken. Unless they have been hit with acid or fire in the previous round. So like if you have paused their regeneration, so if you hit them with fire or acid, their regeneration doesn't work for a round.
Right.
If it is paused and you bring them to 0, then
they die.
The way that I have it work for him is it's not fire and acid. Instead, psychic damage will like halt his regeneration. Also, if he is submerged in water. Because the backstory of Jason Voorhees is very convoluted. When he was a little boy, he quote unquote died by drowning, despite the fact that in the following movie, you find out he didn't actually die. Whatever. Anyway, but his weakness kind of seems to be if you can get him in the water, you can at least trap him.
Sure.
There. So anyway, you either psychic damage or submerge him in water will sort of halt his regeneration. However, anytime Jason takes lightning damage, his regeneration doubles for 1 round, and during that time, nothing pauses it.
Okay.
Because several times he is trapped underwater, and then something electric hits him, and then he
comes back up.
Comes back.
Okay.
I've actually got a fan theory that Jason is a robot. More like a naturally occurring robot, because he seems to be powered by lightning.
Sure.
In later movies. Anyway, so that's what I got for Jason Voorhees, a troll, but... So like troll for the regeneration, but give him weapons and then change up his weaknesses and such. Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to?
No, yeah, go.
Okay,
keep going.
Next one I've got is another iconic one, Freddy Krueger.
Okay.
Freddy Krueger was kind of a hard one because he kind of has whatever abilities the movie needs him to have.
Well, because he lives in a night, like he lives in your nightmares or something.
Yeah,
like that.
when
so,
you're
like,
asleep,
you can go off of your dreams or whatever.
Right. So probably the most obvious thing is to give him the dream spell, which basically does kind of that. You cast it on someone that is asleep, and then like you essentially pull them into a dream world where you can manipulate stuff and you can damage them whenever you want to, and so on and so on. But as for the base creature, I kind of like what I came up with this. I came up with the base creature is the Mind Flayer.
Okay.
Reskin a Mind Flayer so that it's not that it has like a bunch of tentacles that it like latches onto you with.
Right.
He's got clawed glove.
Yeah, he's Kruger hands.
Exactly. And then instead of extract brain, because the way that Mind Flayers work is they can grapple you with their tentacles. And then if you are grappled, they can do this attack that does a ton of damage to you. Instead, I'm reskinning that as basically a dream-related finisher. Because when you counter Freddy Krueger, generally what happens is he stalks you for a while, he catches up with you, he hits you once with some ironic dream thing. Like if you're a drug addict, he turns his claws into syringes.
Needles, yeah.
If you are a disabled kid in a wheelchair, he will do something to like turn your wheelchair into like a death trap or whatever.
Sure.
So his extract brain is a dream-related finisher is kind of what I did with that. I removed the Mind Blast ability and replaced it with Dream at Will, which is a 5th level spell. I also added in the ability to, if you want to, bring in multiple people into the dream.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually having trouble remembering whether Freddy ever does that intentionally or if that is caused by one of the characters. I don't remember.
Sure.
I think he can. I think he can pull multiple people into the dream. He can, because Mind Flayers have psionic powers, I added Alter Self as one of his psionic powers, so he can make himself look like other things. And he has a weakness to fire.
Okay.
Because, the whole Freddy Krueger thing is that he was killed by a group of parents who tossed him in a furnace.
Oh, sure.
And then in the first couple movies, at least, he is punishing those parents' children.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, because Freddy Krueger is like his skin's all burned up or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up is one that we had before recording. You actually mentioned wanting to do this one, but you weren't sure if you had seen the whole movie.
Right.
And that is The Thing.
Yeah. Because, I don't quite understand the mechanics of The Thing. I understand what it is, but...
Well, maybe. I think I did a pretty good... I'm pretty proud of this one.
Okay.
So I started with the base creature of the Gibbering Mouther.
Mm-hmm.
Gibbering Mouther, for anybody knows, is basically like this like amorphous blob that is constantly creating like mouths with gnashing teeth, and they're constantly making this like gibbering noise that drives people crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The Thing doesn't necessarily drive people crazy, but I mean it does all that other stuff too. Now I gave it regeneration as a troll would, so it is also affected by fire and acid the same way a troll would be.
Right. Because that is a thing in the thing. So fire kills it or whatever.
Fire does kill it. The whole, if you have not seen The Thing, you should watch The Thing. And I'm glaring at Jeff as I tell our listeners to watch The Thing.
There was a remake not too long ago, right?
Yeah, it's a remake / prequel because in the movie The Thing, they encounter this monster. It's in the Antarctic, I think. They encounter this monster that in the like 80s movie, they find out that it previously destroyed this other base, this other Antarctic base. And in the remake, it is taking place in that other base. So in theory, that movie happens and then The Thing goes to where...
the original happens.
I was about to say Kurt Russell. I was about to say Russell Crowe, but it's not Russell Crowe. So it has regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
It can polymorph. It can use the polymorph ability on itself at will, not on other people, on itself.
Right. With
no limit as to the creature type, because the base polymorph spell is just beasts, I think.
Huh.
This one has no limit to the creature type, however, has the requirement it must have either dealt melee damage to the creature it wants to turn into, or must have spent one round in contact with the creature that it wants to turn into.
Sure.
So it can, if it has touched you, if it has spent time in contact with you or wounded you, it has some of your DNA and can turn into you.
Right.
Also, it has the split ability, which certain oozes have, such as the black pudding, the ochre jelly. Mm-hmm. Well, so normally it's whenever it takes like slashing damage. With this one instead, I have it be whenever it reaches half of its maximum hit points, whenever you deal damage to it, it splits in two. And then each of those original ones, because it has regeneration, can then become full-fledged creatures in their own right, and then split and so on. I also said it can choose to split, however, it takes 10 minutes to do so. I figured giving it some sort of a time limit that it has to follow. So in the movie, The Thing is this creature that I think on a cellular level is this like constantly reproducing and assimilating creature. So like technically if it wounds you, it will turn you into it, is really what it does. That's kind of hard to do in D&D. I didn't really feel like adding in a bunch of saves and stuff. I think what I did pretty adequately mimics what it does.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure was it taking over people's bodies or was it becoming them?
And, it's a little of both.
Was it like eating them and then replacing them, or was it turning them into it, or was it just turning into it, them? I don't know.
I think technically it is turning them into it.
But
I don't know. I guess if this was going to be like a D&D game, I think it'd be a little easier to do it.
Sure.
It can just make copies of itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just cell division thing.
Another monster that I have is Pennywise the Clown from It.
Yes.
I actually just saw It Chapter 2.
Yeah. How was it?
It was very good.
Cool.
I was kind of disappointed with the first chapter for some reason. I mean, they changed some stuff from the book.
Yeah.
But I had only heard that the second one was disappointing. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was very, very good.
Well, see, I think that makes sense because like you had an expectation, like it was like the first one was well received.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like people who are watching it now probably haven't seen the original, probably haven't even read the book. They just went and saw it, so they enjoyed it.
Yeah. And
so you had an expectation for it, but when the sequel come out, people had an expectation for it based on the first one, and the second chapter. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a never mind.
Now it's for anybody who is familiar with Pennywise from It. It's kind of hard to say what powers he would or would not have, but I'm pretty happy with what I made. So I started with the doppelganger monster,
right? Because
they can change they can use ultra self on themselves, but also because they can read people's minds.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty important thing for Pennywise to have. Also, but that's not all he has. He also has the shape change ability, which is a 9th level spell.
Okay.
At will. So like a very, very powerful, he's a not very powerful monster with an incredibly powerful ability. He can turn into basically any monster whenever he wants.
Yeah.
However, an opponent can attempt a charisma check, DC 20, to force Pennywise into a specific form.
Okay.
If they succeed, Pennywise must then use his action on his next turn to transform into that creature.
Sure.
And then I don't think I put it. I can't. I was thinking about having a minimum amount of time he must spend in that form, but I didn't write it down. So I don't know, because I guess spoilers for It Chapter 2. Part of the overcoming the challenge is the kids forcing the main characters forcing their wills upon Pennywise to make him weaker.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I was going with that. Not very complicated.
Right.
But I mean, to actually try and figure out all the stuff Pennywise could do would be very complicated. I think for being simple, I think this is a pretty accurate way to do it.
Yeah, that's like there's a powerful mechanic there where you could just turn into anything, but there's, like the stats of a doppelganger aren't that complicated.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that idea of like maybe it's like whenever he casts change shape, like you can use your reaction to make a DC to
maybe
something like,
Oh, yeah, maybe that could be it. I don't know.
It's like I don't know. Cuz with shape change, is it kind of like polymorph, at least in 5th edition, where like you just gain the hit points?
I think so.
So like it is regenerative in a way. So I mean, like that'd be a way to kind of like stop the regeneration kind of thing, because it's like if you could just change shape, you could just change shape into the same thing over and over and get more hit points.
That makes a lot of sense. Actually,
so like maybe like make it you can make a reaction to try to have him change into something with less hit points, basically.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. I like making that a reaction. I've still got a few more, but do you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, we could bring up Winifred Sanderson.
Yep.
From Hocus Pocus.
Yes.
So when we guested on D&D Character Lab for their Halloween episode, we were trying to come up with ideas for a character to bring in, and I brought this up to Skylar, and she was like, "Well, why don't you just do Hocus Pocus?" And I was like, "Oh my God, why don't we just do Hocus Pocus?"
Yeah.
So I kind of like, all right, we can make all, instead of making all 3 of the Sanderson sisters or whatever, I was like, okay, because we're only making one character, kind of try to put them all into one, basically.
Yeah.
And so I made this as a player character, a potential player character, but I mean, like you could still use the stat block as a NPC or whatever.
Absolutely.
I think we had her at level 12.
I think so.
So it was half glamour school bard, or
College of Glamour.
College of Glamour bard, and a necromancer wizard.
Yeah.
Because in the movies, she brings her ex-boyfriend back from the dead to chase after the kids.
She has a book with all of her spells in it.
Books with all of her spells in it. And then like they're they use like their singing and such to kind of
they put a spell on you.
They put a spell exactly. Yeah. So yeah, like she uses her singing to basically like put a charm or something on all the adults in the neighborhood, so that they would stay at their party or whatever.
An enthralling performance, you might say.
Exactly. So yeah, from the glamour school, you've got your enthralling performance, and like it's like you cast command as a bonus action for a minute, raise an army of the dead and things like that. So like I don't know so basically she's just a human with, I think, inspiring leader feats, so she can give like temporary hit points to all of her her thralls and such.
I think she had a wooden spoon.
Yeah,
as a melee weapon.
Right, just because like I think she had she had negative to her strength because she's focused on other things. So like she had like her club, but it was a spoon to stir her potion of youth or whatever.
Right.
And I think like there's like the minor magic items in Xanathar's.
Okay.
Which is just like a bunch of little things like I think it's like glamour armor, where it's basically just armor that never gets dirty or something.
Oh,
like little things like that. And one of them is like your magic or your spell book is indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
I do remember that one.
One of the things in the movie is like they're like, oh, why don't we just we have her spell book. Why don't we just destroy it so she can't cast her spells? And it's like, nah, it's protected by magic. You can't do anything to it. Plus I just like the idea, like putting a little bit more emphasis on the book because it was like a big part of the movie.
Sure.
It's like the book was given to her by the devil himself.
Yeah.
Which made me think I should maybe make her. I tried making her a warlock.
Yeah, but
I think
mechanics wise that doesn't quite work as well.
Right. Yeah. So I think I was really proud with the way it turned out with the half bard, half wizard.
Yeah. And if you haven't listened to that episode, that was a very fun episode.
Right,
so go listen to that.
Yeah, if you want to hear about her in more detail, you can go check that out. One, because I lost the notebook I had her written her down in.
Yeah, I must have done the same thing because before you came up with that, because that was a great idea for that episode. I had come up with a couple ideas for other horror movie characters that I also I statted out as PCs, and I couldn't find those notes either. I wanted to bring both those in, so I did kind of I wrote down like a brief idea of what each of them was for this, but I couldn't find those notes either.
Yeah, like I swear I found the notebook, but it wasn't in there, so I might have torn the pages out of.
Put them in that safety deposit box.
Oh, sure.
In case we ever need to do that again.
Maybe I had it in a different notebook now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway. So yeah, go ahead and check out that episode of D&D Character Lab.
I'll put it in the show notes, but if you're already on our blog, I do have a page now of other podcasts that I or both of us have been on.
Sure. Cool.
So I'll actually briefly talk about the two other characters that I made as PCs. Right. I do have a couple more monsters, but one of them, when we first were invited to be on a D&D Character Lab, they said that it was going to be the Halloween episode, and I immediately started thinking, okay, what if I did Michael Myers as a PC from the Halloween movie?
Right. Yep. Very, very iconic.
And I statted him out almost entirely, I think. Like I said, I don't have those notes with me, but I realized after spending a bit of time doing this, like it wouldn't really be very fun to play as him. And then when you came up with Winifred Sanderson, oh boy, that was perfect. That was... Mwah.
Yeah, it was
chef's
good.
kiss right there. But the way that I stat out Michael Myers, because if you're familiar with the Halloween movies, I've really only seen the early ones. I haven't seen any of the later ones, so I don't know what happens later on. But he doesn't really do anything supernatural. So I think the easy leap is to say, oh, okay, just make him like a rogue or a fighter or something. But no, I didn't do that. I made him a warlock. I made him a warlock of the Great Old One. And I think even when I had statted him out, I had his patron be the Silver Shamrock, which is actually not anything related to Michael Myers, but it was from the third Halloween movie, which Michael Myers was not in. It was like a side story. They planned on taking the series in a different direction. And so they had it be there's this Silver Shamrock corporation that is trying to like take over everybody's minds. Through these like magical Halloween masks or something. So I had him his patron was the Silver Shamrock, which I imagine as like an eldritch abomination out in space somewhere.
Okay.
And then I basically just gave him warlock abilities. I gave him Pact of the Blade, so he can always have a knife on him.
Right.
He can summon his knife to him. I gave him the invocation that gives him an extra attack. I gave him the invocation that lets you use your Eldritch Blast as a melee attack.
Sure.
Made it so he can see in the dark. He can cast haste, invisibility, misty step, because he always just, pops up.
Right, yeah.
He's moving at normal speed, but he always catches up with you when you're running away.
Right.
Trained him in intimidate, stealth, and perception. I don't really have a ton of notes on it, and I didn't really feel like making, because it wasn't fun to begin with, so I didn't want to remake him as a full-fledged PC.
Yeah, because like he's a very straightforward like horror film villain.
Pretty much.
Like like
wears a disguise, doesn't say anything,
appears out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Is strong and attacks you, and is silent and hard to kill.
In Dead by Daylight, his whole thing is that he stalks you, and then the longer he watches you from afar, the more powerful he gets.
Right. Yeah.
So, never played as him. I've had him for quite some time and never actually played as him.
Eh.
And then the other PC that I came up with is going to be one that probably fewer people are going to recognize, but there is a movie called Trick or Treat. Trick R' Treat.
Okay.
And it is it's an anthology movie. It's a bunch of little short stories all taking place on Halloween in this small town.
Okay.
And one of the characters in that is named Sam. He's never given a name in the movie, but I guess he was like part of like some animated short before the movie came out. He's in the movie and he has kind of a big part, but he doesn't have any lines or anything. Basically, he is an embodiment of Halloween. Like he's an embodiment of Halloween spirit, if there was such a thing as Halloween spirit.
Sure.
And so...
Wait, is that not David Pumpkins?
Well, it's arguable whether David Pumpkins is an embodiment of Halloween or the creator of all existence.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, is David Pumpkins on your list?
He is now.
Okay.
So Sam it looks like a little kid wearing like a burlap sack on his head.
Okay.
You eventually do see his face, and his face is kind of horrifying. But basically his whole thing is that he's like a Halloween curmudgeon. If you don't follow the traditions of Halloween, he will show up and kill you.
Oh.
Or at least he will punish you until you do follow the
Sure.
traditions.
Eat some candy.
And so all of his tactics are using candy as weapons.
Okay.
He has a lollipop that he takes a bite out of, and then so it's like a sickle.
Yeah.
And so I used the stats of a sickle, and then so I made him a rogue, I should probably say.
Okay, cool.
So he stabs people with a lollipop. At one point he has a candy bar that he bites the end off of, and there's a razor blade inside of it. I have he could throw pumpkins, but they would use the stats of throwing hammers or those pumpkins from that magic item we talked about.
Sure.
And then he could drop down caltrops, which are just broken hard candies all over the floor. So I think when we were doing the D&D Character Lab, I came up with a bunch more examples, but I couldn't find those notes.
Okay.
So just kind of pick a weapon and then figure out how could this be a Halloween candy.
Yeah.
It's
like just pick up a piece of candy, figure out if I bite it this way, does it look like a weapon?
Sure. Or like I don't know, you could poison people with stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
So those are the PCs that I came up with. I do have a couple more monsters. You want me to do those?
Yeah, go for it.
This next one is pretty straightforward. Chucky from the Child's Play and or Chucky movies.
Mm-hmm.
I started off with the animated armor monster.
Sure. Oh yeah, because he's a construct.
Yeah, he's a construct.
Okay.
It's very simple. I just made it small.
Yeah.
Gave him advantage on stealth. And I increased his intelligence, wisdom, and charisma to whatever a PC would have. So like maybe around 16 or so.
Sure. Yeah.
Because in the Chucky movies, he was a serial killer who put his soul into a doll.
Yeah.
And then I also have a little ability. After being destroyed, a unique ritual can be performed on the remaining body parts to restore it to full HP. But after that point, he has disadvantage on disguise checks. Because he doesn't look like a normal doll anymore. He looks like a destroyed doll that was sewn back together.
Sure, yeah.
So that's it. That's all I had to do for Chucky. It's pretty straightforward. The next one is a little more abstract, but I think was kind of cool. And that is Samara or Sadako, the ghost girl from The Ring, or the Japanese version Ringu. So I wasn't really sure what base creature to go with for this one. Mm-hmm. Kind of just pick whatever you want. I really just had a couple abilities that I think made sense.
Okay.
So probably the most significant one is, are you familiar with the spell? I always pronounced it Gaius, but I believe it is technically pronounced Gesh.
Geas.
Geas is the spell.
Okay.
It's a spell where you place the spell on somebody. If they fail their save, you give them a task. They have to complete that task within a certain amount of time, or they start taking damage.
Okay.
And so the one that I did for this was it is a modified Geas spell cast automatically on anybody who watches the cursed VHS tape. If you watch the cursed VHS tape, you then have to, the Geas is to show the tape to someone else within 7 days. Mm-hmm. If you do not, it immediately summons Samara or Sadako, who uses the TV stride spell.
Okay.
Which is very similar to the tree stride spell.
Okay.
But they teleport in through a television screen.
Uh-huh.
At which point they have the phantasmal killer spell. So they kill people by using their fear against them or something.
Sure. Okay.
And that's it.
Well, because like I had thought about the girl from the ring, and I was like, okay, but how do we make the watching a video thing in D&D terms?
That's what it is. It's a cursed item that casts this Geas spell on you.
Right. It's like a scroll that if you read it in full,
No, you just come across a TV with a built-in VHS.
Right. Just in any D&D adventure, of course.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh yeah, here, okay, you guys, you beat the Chapel on the Cliffs adventure, and you notice in the corner of the chapel there's actually a box.
There's a weird box with glowing lights coming from inside it.
It looks like it's got a window, but it. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. It could be like a cursed crystal ball or something.
Oh,
you look into it.
Oh, like a magic mirror.
Sure,
of course. Yeah, that's simple. Yeah.
I like it being a TV personally.
A magic mirror with a VHS slot.
There you go. And then I did come up with a couple joke ones that have considerably less work put into them.
She might as well. Yeah.
The Headless Horseman.
Okay.
Just have a guy on a horse, but
he has no head.
Has no head.
Okay, he's just dead already.
And then this is going to be a bit more, kind of obscure, maybe more or less obscure than some of the other stuff on this list. But the villains from the movie Troll 2 take the stats of a goblin.
Right. Stats of a goblin.
Because the joke is that Troll 2 has no trolls in it. It has goblins.
It nothing to do with trolls. Trolls aren't even mentioned.
Nothing to do with Troll 1 even.
Right.
Nope.
Why?
And then, of course, I guess David Pumpkins. I'll throw him in there, too. Just give him whatever ability you want him to have.
Right, of course, because, he's all powerful.
Yep.
Any questions?
Now we need to come up with what abilities could have to do with questions.
Right. Yeah, so, he has the special ability, any questions.
Any questions.
Yeah.
Lets him do anything.
Right, it just confuses everybody.
Yeah.
For the rest of their lives, because they're just trying to think of, who is David Pumpkins? What is he? What's with the skeletons?
For anybody who's not familiar, just go to YouTube and type in David Pumpkins.
Yeah,
watch it.
I only last year learned about David Pumpkins.
Yeah, same here.
And I didn't realize that it was I think from 2014. I want to say
something like that. It's
old.
It's old and it's popular. So yeah, I mean those are the ones we came up with. I think those were pretty neat. Yeah. I had a lot of fun coming up with those. I guess if anybody out there has any that they've used or that they would, they can recommend, I'd love to hear them. I would love to hear other people's takes on horror villains and such in D&D. I thought about bringing in like universal monster type stuff, but I mean those are all pretty simple. Wolfman is a werewolf.
Yeah, that's
Frankenstein's a flesh golem.
Yeah.
Dracula's a vampire. You know.
There's plenty of where it's just a simple reskin. You know?
I also tried really hard not to look up other people's versions of these characters.
Right.
Because I wanted to come up with them on my own. I didn't want to.
But what would Dracula be?
It'd be a Tarrasque.
Okay.
Obviously.
Yeah.
He eats people, right?
Something like that.
I want to kill you with melee damage. That's Dracula's famous catchphrase.
Right, yeah. I attack the darkness.
Good job. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for our regular questions for today. Some great horror ideas. Again, if anybody out there has any of their own, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're of course doing our social media questions a little different than we used to, which made this episode real confusing to get my notes together.
You mean real spooky?
Real spooky, exactly. So the last social media question we did was, how do you visualize the planes in your home campaign?
Okay.
Do you recall if you had an answer, Jeff? Jeff's laughing because somebody on Facebook had a picture that looks kind of funny.
Right. Yeah. One of the responses.
One of the responses.
Is a picture. Yeah. I can't remember what I actually sided with. Like, I always like the idea of like a planets thing, but then at the same time, like, it really depends on the campaign, and I'm sure plenty of people will probably state that. But like, if I want it to be more magic-y, I would feel like it's more like dimensions and things like that. Or you want it to be more with like a sci-fi twist to it. You can have the planes are actual planets. Sure. The astral plane is space. Yeah. And the plane of fire is just like it's basically a really hot planet that's close to the sun or something like that. That kind of thing.
There was a campaign setting called Spelljammer that, if I'm not mistaken, was exactly that.
Right.
You had ships that would travel through space. They called it like phlogiston or something, was like the medium through which you traveled to get from plane to plane.
Okay.
But you were like traveling from planet to planet on spaceships or whatever, but it was all magic instead of technology.
Yeah.
So I personally, I haven't really run a lot of games like this, but I really like the idea of the planes being physical places on the same planet.
Sure, yeah.
Like I love in Greek mythology, the gods live up there, over on that mountain. Right, that's where the gods live.
Yeah.
And like you could travel to hell by just finding the cave entrance that leads to hell.
Yeah.
I really like that idea, and I think that's a cool idea to use in D&D.
Yeah, that's sort of like the Greek mythology, it's also like Egyptian and Roman.
Well, yeah, most mythologies did that.
Yeah, it was a physical place because they hadn't discovered the entire globe. So they're like, oh yeah, over there must be something crazy.
That mountain's so tall, the gods must live up there.
Exactly. So yeah, I do like that too. I do like the land of the dead is actually just beneath your feet. Like your spirit goes down just right, like my dead grandma, she's right over there. But I just can't get to it because there's miles of earth between me and her.
Yeah. So we got some responses over on Facebook. Jeff was laughing at Eric M said, we currently run a multi-dimensional campaign currently set in Eternia, and we use a Wind Raider. We visualize it as such. So that is from He-Man.
Right.
And there is a picture of He-Man flying around this goofy 80s cartoon looking ship.
Well, and it made me laugh because I was just like, oh, it's a picture of a plane.
Yeah.
He's in a plane. I mean, that's not what, but it's like.
Oh, just you wait, Jeff.
Yeah. Little side thing.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact details, but it was like elementary school. There was like, we had to like draw a picture of it was like a short story, but each group got like a sentence in that story, like a little passage in that story to draw a picture of.
Yeah.
And then we put it together and make a picture book. So each person, like each group got its own page or whatever.
Cool.
And there was something about like, and they rode across the plains.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like I was the smarter in this situation. I want to give myself the credit of knowing that that can't be what they meant.
Sure.
But like the group ended up drawing a picture of an airplane with horses riding on it.
Okay.
I want to give myself the credit of like being like, I don't think this is what that is, but I was also the artist of like, I liked drawing when I was younger a lot. Yeah. So like, I was definitely the one who drew it. But I don't remember if it was my idea to draw.
So you drew it under protest.
I feel like I drew it under protest. I want to give myself that credit. It was a long time ago, so I don't remember.
Sure.
But anyway.
Well, so speaking of which, Sean M says in the air.
Okay, and then a plane emoji.
And then, and then Jason says, they haven't been invented yet. We mostly still use eagles and magic carpets.
Stop.
All right, guys. Dustin F says, I like to think of them as parallel dimensions. Back on topic, I should point out. I like to think of them as parallel dimensions. They all exist in the same quote-unquote space, but at different frequencies.
Sure.
Closer frequencies allow easier travel between. Plane shifting is adjusting your frequency to match where you want to go.
Neat.
And I think that that's probably what the makers of the game intended. For example, when you cast plane shift,
You use like a tuning fork?
you use a tuning fork that is attuned to whatever plane you are shifting to.
Sure.
Which I always liked. I always liked the idea of that you do have a fork that it does have the right frequency or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, you could always flavor that as just like, you just have a piece of it, just some sort of focus to that plane. But yeah, the tuning fork thing is pretty neat.
I remember one time, Chris
Dang
was running a game where I was going to be casting. We were on a different plane. I was trying to get us back to the material plane. And I said, oh, shoot, Chris, I didn't ask this beforehand, but can my character own a tuning fork that is attuned to the material plane? Because my character knows plane shift. If he ever needed to get back home, it would be important for him to have this. And he was like, does your character own a fork? I was like, well, yeah, sure. And he's like, okay, you have a fork. So he was saying, yeah, just any fork, anything that is a fork could act as, which makes sense. I think it was he meant it more as like, if it is material from the material plane, it is on the right frequency. So like anything that you could just like hit it on something and it'll vibrate at the material plane frequency.
Sure.
But
okay. Yeah. So
so that was everybody on Facebook. Over on Discord. So once again, the question was, how do you visualize the planes in your own campaign? Adam B says, with fear. So much fear. That is where the evil things live. We got some weird responses to this one. Jason, again, he was on the jokester on Facebook, replied with, I believe the plains are where rain in Spain falls mainly, but by Jove, you'd be the real expert on that, Gabe. Okay. He's making a reference to, I was Colonel Pickering in My Fair Lady in high school.
Sure.
And so I had the song, The Rain in Spain. It's actually, The Rain in Spain stays mainly on the plane.
Oh.
Anyway.
Oh.
Not to be pedantic, not to contribute to this joke.
Right.
E. Thompson says, I prefer mine to not have flying aircrafts not powered by magic in my games. And yes, I understood the question. Ha ha. All right, guys.
Okay.
Jason actually did ask for a little bit of clarification on the question because, I think it was very, very possibly difficult to understand.
Sure.
So I'm not faulting anybody for goofing around with it.
Yeah, I invite it. It's silly. I like it.
Yeah. But Jason did say he liked how in Eberron they had the coterminous thing, and that's where in Eberron the planes are different dimensions, but there are times they are moving like planets.
Sure.
And there are times when some of them will be closer to the material plane than others.
Yeah.
So there are periods of time where like it's really easy to teleport to this one specific plane.
Yeah.
Or you might end up there accidentally.
Right.
Like a natural portal might pop up because it is coterminous with the plane of fire. Or whatever.
I like that a lot too, because isn't that like the image of like they're like discs, or they're like almost like lenses or something? Or am I thinking of that's just like the regular?
I think that's just the regular one. I don't remember if Eberron had a picture of what it looked like.
Right.
It might have. I don't know.
Because I'm just imagining it's just like this like really intricate like clock looking thing where like the discs that are the planes will sometimes like overlap with each other, and then that's where like
that might be.
Yeah, I don't know, but
I don't know.
that, but I still
it's a hard concept.
Right, exactly.
But let me read what Jason actually said. I loved the coterminous thing when certain places or at certain times the planes interacted weirdly with the material plane, sharing their properties. So the classic example being Sharn, the big metropolis, tying to the plane of air and things floating there. Or at certain times, the dead rise because of a connection to the plane of shadow.
Ooh, yeah.
So yeah, like there are places in Eberron that are permanently like connected to other planes. Like Sharn, this big city, is built vertically because it's connected to the plane of air. So air magic is a lot easier. It's a lot easier to make magic that keeps things aloft.
Right,
and so on. So Eberron did some fun stuff with that. Stiltskin Kupo 84 says, I think the dividing line between the planes should be as gray and uncertain as possible. The more magic and the less science, the better. If you point to a portal and say that's a portal to another plane, people have a chance to choose not to go there. If instead they are walking through a forest and suddenly they realize they're lost in the Feywild, it's more of a planar experience. As in, oh no, how do I get back? Whereas if you put in a portal, then it's really just a matter of getting through a dungeon to get to a door.
Sure.
So
I
definitely
I like that too. Like there's definitely like a place for all these different ways of imagining the planes.
Yeah, I really like the planescape idea of portals in that. Sometimes they just happen. I mean, it's planescape is mostly in and around Sigil where there are portals everywhere.
Yeah,
but I like the idea that like you might just. If you happen to walk through this archway while carrying a live fish, it will teleport you to the plane of water. Nobody knows that because you're, 500 miles from the nearest lake or whatever. So nobody has ever walked through that archway carrying a live fish.
Yeah.
So you've just never realized it. So when something like that happens and you don't know what caused it, that can be really cool.
Yeah.
I think that has a lot of potential. Bill IVC says, I picture them like alternate dimensions of the material plane, some more similar to others, but all so close to breaking through. Sometimes energy will bleed into another or even be forced out into the open. Some magic uses these planes to manifest things, tapping through the thin mystical separation between each plane. And John Gemstone says, I use two main formats depending on the setting. The first is the wheel because I love the thought of overlapping areas that the planes can bleed over one another. I think the wheel is the one that you were thinking of.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, the second way is best described as a hallway with many doors leading to different planets. I don't know where this idea came from, but I love the idea of picking the wrong door and horrid creatures or a barren landscape greets the now stranded travelers. That kind of reminds me of, there was a Stephen King novel I read called The Tommyknockers, which is about, I think basically these aliens start like influencing these people in this small town and they start like developing all this alien technology or something. But there's all these people start getting this knowledge that they don't know where it came from, and it lets them build things they don't know what will do. Like they don't know what this invention is going to do. There's a point where like this little kid is trying to become a magician, so he like puts on like a magic show for like all of his friends and family, and he just gets the idea, oh, I know how to make this thing, it'll help out with my magic thing, and then like he teleports a neighborhood kid to some weird like hell dimension and or outer space.
Okay.
And like that's a horrifying idea to me. You're just like opening the wrong door, not realizing what's going to be on the other side, and it is some sort of like hellish landscape on the other side. Just terrifying to me. So that was everybody on Discord. Just got a couple on Reddit. Pruno says, in my homebrew magical Detroit game, which I think has come up on the podcast before.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
The planes can be accessed through the Renaissance Center, which is a building in downtown Detroit.
Right.
There are trains and factory workers could go to work in the fire plane. Ships had access to water, essentially using the planes for work and resources. There was even a unit of guards called planeswalkers that looked for rogue portals mostly used by criminals and smugglers.
Ooh.
I like that idea where there's these portals, the law enforcers are trying to stop people from using them, and the criminals are trying to use them.
Right, yeah.
Scottish Unicorn Clan says, the planes in the game I'm currently running, a low fantasy end of the medieval ages setting, used to, in the distant past, be accessible through doors found at specific points around the game world. However, the locations to these spots have been long since forgotten, and some have started to believe they never existed at all.
Okay.
So if I had planned this out a little better, I would have tried to have Halloween-themed questions for today, but I didn't. But I really like all of the cool, like, plot hook stuff that is coming out in this. It's really, really cool, all the stuff people are saying. And then just got one person on Twitter. That's Carl with a K. Well, Carl says, I'm probably too late for the episode. And actually, no, Carl, because of how we changed how we do this.
Right.
I imagine them as islands in the astral sea, but moving around each other like a solar system. Sometimes different planes are closer to each other and sometimes further. Also, different planetary systems all exist in the same astral sea, like the Magic the Gathering multiverse can be reached from, say, Faerun, but they're farther away and require more time or power to reach them. I really like that too. I love all of the different campaign settings being... There is a way to get from one campaign setting to another. It's just very difficult and very... Like, the knowledge to do so is very hidden.
And why not? Like, especially if you're doing like where you're like kind of like handing off the DM sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, one DM really likes this one campaign setting, the other likes the other one. So like there could be like a dimensional shift thing going on where you actually are ending up in a different, dimension.
Sure.
Could go even further to where like some of the characters and events are similar, but you're in a different dimension. Like,
there's like alternate versions of
stuff. Exactly. So like something you did in the last adventure, even though it's in a different dimension, has consequences in the next adventure, even though you're ended up, it's like I was in Faerun, but now we're in Eberron, but the leader that was assassined in Faerun, there's also an assassined leader in Eberron that happened under similar circumstances or something like that. I don't know. I'm getting where you,
I think that's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting to look, if you look really closely at the different campaign settings, how they deal with planes. I feel like there are kind of little hints left in some of them that are meant to hint at that, but they can't really say exactly that.
Yeah.
I remember in Greyhawk, in the Greyhawk, it might have just been in the Manual of the Planes, the 3rd edition Manual of the Planes, which was set in Greyhawk. There was like a little section in the back that talked about there's the ethereal plane, and then there's the deep ethereal plane.
Okay.
Which is, I never really understood exactly what the deep ethereal is like, just like a different area of the ethereal plane. But I feel like there was a section in there that hinted at being able to access other worlds not connected to the rest of the cosmology. And I always took that to mean other campaign settings.
Sure.
So like when I did a bunch of like personal campaign stuff with Ichi, I had like Ichi show up in different campaigns. That's in my mind how he did it, because he was a planar traveler. And so I always thought in my head, well, he just managed to figure out which part of which plane he had to go to, cross over from this setting to this other, and so on and so on. So anyway, that was everybody for that previous question. Thank you everybody for answering that question. And then, so we just cut out a few minutes of us being very confused because we were still getting used to how our change to the social media questions works.
Yeah.
So the question we will be answering responses to next week is, have you ever run a Halloween or just explicitly horror-themed session? If so, how did it go?
Right.
So, have you ever, Jeff?
Yes, I did. I have just been reminded of that.
Yes.
I tried running a little Halloween adventure for you guys. Or it was a Roll20 thing, and so you had everybody roll stats for a character. Given like, I gave like a short list of races you could pick from, and they were all like monstrous races.
Yeah.
Or monster-like races, I guess.
Yeah, just non-player's handbook races.
Exactly. So, cat folk or
tabaxi, kanku, lizard folk.
Yeah.
That stuff.
And then, like, had it played off as, like, oh, they were just costumes that kids were wearing, that sort of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I've done that. It was a lot of fun. I've done a couple, like, mostly for, like, the library and stuff. I've done little goofy. I had like a zombie apocalypse hit them on this last one.
Sure.
And they had to go and stop this like artifact that was creating all of it. And the artifact was trapped inside a pumpkin or something. And I don't know. So yeah, I've done it a couple times, and it's always fun. I love Halloween stuff, and I've done horror themed stuff several times.
For sure. Yeah.
Which you can listen to if you become a $5 or higher patron.
Right.
So yeah, come check that out. I think that's one of the best things that we've put on the Patreon.
Yeah, for sure.
So in 2 episodes, we will be reading responses to that question.
Yeah.
Because when this episode goes out, you will have 1 week to answer it, and then we will record that episode.
Yeah. So We'll get used to this. Sorry.
So confusing.
Right. We've just done a specific way for so long that now we're like, it's so simple, but
I feel completely justified in doing it the way that we did it because it is so confusing to not do it that way.
Yeah, but we just want to make sure that it's not like we want to make sure more people have a chance to answer.
I do want to make sure because like Carl with a K on Twitter was able to get his in because of how we changed it up.
Right. So
check that out on social media. So that'll do it for questions for this week. But before we close out, let's unwind a little bit. Let's relax. Let's take a deep breath. As we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. So today's funeral pyre story was submitted by Lano13 via Reddit. The apocalypse is upon us, and it's the end of the world. The remaining Garou have journeyed deep into the Umbra to free the worm from its bindings. They all fight a grand battle on the back of the metaphysical entity, ending with the Cairns Get of Fenris Alpha riding. I don't know what any of these words are. Ending with the Cairns Get of Fenris Alpha riding the worm itself as it breaks free and obliterates everything.
Oh man. So everyone's dead.
I guess everyone's dead, yeah.
As a funeral pyre for existence.
Yeah. So I would say let's raise a glass, but I think we're dead too. Clink?
Oh no, where are my glasses? Yeah.
I dropped my glass. I broke my glasses. I can't read anymore.
Oh.
All right. Well, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Horde, or stories for the funeral pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, on Reddit at r/interpartyconflict, on our Interparty Discord, or on Twitter at InPartyConflict for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is our YouTube channel where we play video games, and you can also join us on our stream at twitch.tv/FriendQuestStream.
There you go.
We will be doing the charity
Extra Life?
The charity stream for Extra Life, the 24-hour stream. Mm-hmm. We're going to try and do it.
Okay.
I mean, I barely made it last year.
Sure.
But we're going to try and do it. I'm going to have Griff over. We're going to have a good time, and Gabe's welcome to join us whenever
I'll probably be working, but if I get off work and you're still doing it, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, join us on the stream. And if you can, donate to Extra Life. So.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. And speaking of video games, check out my side project, the Arcade Memories podcast. If you'd like to submit your own childhood memories of going to the arcade, record them or write them to me at arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. And I actually just got new hosting for that one. Mm-hmm. So it is no longer at soundcloud.com/arcade memories, is at anchor.fm/arcade memories.
Okay.
So anyway, submit your childhood memories to arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show. What you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games, courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time,
trick or treat.
Here you go. Have some candy.
Oh, thanks.